Like to call this meeting to order. City of Palm Coast City Council business meeting. It is Tuesday, March 20th, 2018. It is 9 a.m. Please join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for
Mayor Holland. Vice Mayor Tuff. Here. Councilmember Nobile.
Here.
Councilmember Clufus.
Present.
Councilmember Shipley.
Here. Thank you. I will now open it up to public participation. Any member of the public wish to speak on items not on the agenda, you have up to 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record, and your 3 minutes will begin.
Silence is deafening. Good morning. Vincent Liguori, Palm Coast. As always, my remarks are not intended to impugn, assault, or threaten any member of council, staff, or charter officers. You know, intellectually or emotionally, or by any human standard that counts, in order for any entity to function at a high efficiency level, there must be cooperation and respect at all levels. City government is not exempt from this premise. As matters stand, recent local media coverage regarding the council-manager relationship exhibits a great deal of disunity. This does not bode well for Palm Coast economic and social interests and the public trust. Elected officials and the city managers, administrators are required to adhere to state and local regulations as well as management associations' edicts. Argumentation is a good thing, provided it settles an issue or a problem. Accordingly, in an effort to mitigate recent public differences between the city manager and the council, I submit to the council the International City Management Code of Ethics with guidelines for your perusal. I do this with the hope that all concerned parties will enhance their understanding of this matter. Tenet 4 of the ICMA Code of Ethics, amended by the membership in June 2017, states, recognize that the chief function of local government at all times is to serve the best interests of all the people. An interesting side note to this is, if there is a point of contention about how a possible violation of Code of Ethics, it is interesting to note that our first city manager, Mr. Richard Kelton, is the senior advisor to the council. I thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Steve Carr, Palm Coast. Florida Park Drive has 8,600 cars per day, or 3 million cars per year, according to FDOT. From a Harvard University study, it's that particular matter, pollutant, so fine that it can enter your bloodstream when you breathe it. The elderly, people with heart or lung disease, pregnant women, and children are most at risk. Fine particulate matter comes from 2 automobile sources, exhaust fumes and traffic dust. Particulate matter is cumulative pollutant, so the more you're exposed to it, the more harm you receive. In the study of older Americans aged 65 and older found that when the concentration of particulate rose by just 10 micrograms.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Can you stop? Mr. Liguori, that's inappropriate, please. We're in the middle of a meeting. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Rose by just 10 micrograms per cubic meter, the chances of the person would die during the 12 years the study analyzed increased by 7.3%. Now from a study from Colorado University, the toxic dust environment, the clouds of dust formed by vehicles as specifically high volumes of heavy metals, especially iron, zinc, lead, copper. Generally, these levels increase with the increase in traffic volume in urban areas. Controlling of street dust is a big challenge in the urban areas. The dust with its heavy metal content has a high potential of causing difficulty in breathing among children and adults, and either local residents or pedestrians or even community. The poisonous fumes emitted by automobile contains benzene and wreak havoc on the lungs and other vital organs, resulting in respiratory ailments. The result health effects of poisonous fumes range from various forms of cancer, bronchitis, bronchial asthma, to impairing the lungs. Toxic dust also has an indirect effect on the health of human beings. It settles on food in the house, and therefore gets absorbed into the body, causing numerous medical problems. There is no known method that will keep the poisonous fumes or toxic dust out of homes. All I have to ask is, what are the plans to reduce the traffic on Florida Park Drive? 3 million cars per year is way too much for a residential area. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker.
Good morning, George Mayo, Palm Coast. Just the other day in USA Today, a topic that we've been discussing quite a bit is 5G and our cell networks, et cetera. Here's an opinion page about what to expect for 5G. They have a picture of a type of 5G box that is needed, spread every 500 feet to put on telephone poles. I don't have a problem with that. The other one is from a company here talking about needing to get through with local governments, state governments, et cetera. Some people are complaining, not in my backyard. I don't want a box on the telephone pole in front of my house. I will leave this with the clerk just for information if anybody wishes to look at it. It says just for communities to get ahead of the situation, to know what's coming with 5G. 4G is, yes, oops, let's put up, 200 towers. We need large towers. 5G is a totally different situation, I'm sure, as Nick probably knows. The other thing is, recently, last meeting, there was a piggyback to buy, with St. Johns County, I believe it was, doesn't matter, to buy a new fire truck for our city as a replacement. The last time we did that, we named it and pinstriped it in honor of John Netz. Well, I would here nominate Chief Beadle, since he has done so much for our community, not only with the fire service. I believe he is well respected by his workers under him. I always see him up here with heart awareness and doing this and that. So I would nominate his name to be put on the new fire truck. He had said, well, I'll be retired by then. Well, that's okay. Let his name carry on the new fire truck for generations to know his contribution to the community. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Mr. Liguori, thank you for your comments. Mr. Carr, thank you for your comments. And Mr. Mayo, thank you for your comments. We'll now move to agenda item number 1, which are the minutes. I'll seek a motion to approve the minutes of March 6, 2018 business meeting, March 13, 2018 workshop meeting.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 2 is a proclamation recognizing April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Councilmember Clufus will be presenting. I would ask anyone here in the audience that's receiving it, please come up to the podium.
Morning, Mayor, Council. Whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month calls attention to the fact that sexual assault violence is widespread and impacts every person in this community. And whereas rape, sexual assault, and sexual harassment impact our community, and statistics show that 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men will be raped at some point in their lives. That 1 in 6 boys and 1 in 4 girls will experience a sexual assault before age 18. Youth ages 12 to 17 are 2.5 times as likely to be victims of rape or sexual assault, and on campus, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men are sexually assaulted. And whereas during 2017, Family Life Center, as the Certified Rape Crisis Center in Flagler County, provided 115 sexual assault-related community education events, 1,466 supportive services, and answered 60 sexual assault crisis hotline calls for survivors of sexual assault and their families living in Flagler County. And whereas the Start by Believing public awareness campaign, a program of End Violence Against Women International, is designed to improve the responses of friends, family members, and community professionals so they can help sexual assault victims access supportive resources and engage the criminal justice system. And whereas Flagler County joins advocates and communities across the country because we are strongest when we raise our voices together to change the culture to prevent sexual violence. Prevention requires addressing the root causes and social norms that allow sexual violence to exist. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and each day of the year is an opportunity to create change for the future. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, that the month of April 2018 be officially designated as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Palm Coast, signed this 20th day of March 2018, City of Palm Coast, Florida Mayor Melissa Holland.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Candace Wilkie. I'm the Sexual Assault Services Coordinator at the Family Life Center, and this is Julie Carroll, our sexual assault advocate. We want to thank you so much for your support this morning. Sexual assault awareness, we've come a long way in the 4 years that we've been providing services here in Flagler County, but we still have so much further to go in raising awareness. So we have a lot of events planned, and we would love for y'all to come out to them. The first one is we recently moved into a new facility. Our administrative offices and our rape crisis center moved into a new unit at the Amaral Professional Center over on Route 100 in December. So we're having a ribbon cutting ceremony on April 18th that we would love for y'all to come with. I have flyers that I'll leave for y'all. And we also have our Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event coming up on April 21st in Flagler Beach. So that is a men's march where men walk a mile in red stilettos. So, and we encourage women to come and wear sneakers. So just kind of raises awareness and within the community about sexual assault and the statistics and how prevalent. We don't have so many reported sexual assaults here in our Flagler County, but we know that every 2 minutes somebody is sexually assaulted. In comparison with that, we've had 20 reports last year. So they're happening, they're just not reporting, and we want to raise awareness so that the community is where the services are available so that the healing can happen and it's free and confidential to all survivors. So we couldn't do what we do without the support of our community, so that starts with you. So thank you so much for your support. Do you want to say anything?
And I'll just add, I'm very honored to be here and ready to help some victims and help survivors, and thank you for helping us do what we do.
Yes. Just leave them here.
Okay, proclamation, agenda item number 3 is a proclamation recognizing April as Water Conservation Month. Councilmember Nobile will be presenting, Ask everyone here that's going to be receiving it to come up to the podium, please.
Mayor, council, whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, the St. Johns River Water Management District, and other water management districts and the city of Palm Coast are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation. And whereas the city of Palm Coast and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month when water demands are most acute, Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens and how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas the city of Palm Coast has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to conserving water. And whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. And whereas the city of Palm Coast is participating in the 6th annual National Mayor's Challenge of Water Conservation and encourages all residents to take the pledge online at www.mywaterpledge.com during the month of April. Now, therefore be it proclaimed, the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, does hereby declare the month of April as Water Conservation Month, adopted this 20th day of March 2018, City of Palm Coast, signed Mayor Melissa Holland.
Good morning, Council. Excuse me. I'm Brian Matthews, the Environmental Compliance Manager with the city, and I'd like to thank you on behalf of the residents of Palm Coast for protecting our future water supply.
Madam Mayor, good morning. Jim Troiano for the St. Johns River Water Management District. On behalf of the 5 water management districts in the state, the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, and the American Water Works Association, I stand before you thanking you, much like Brian did, for your leadership and for everything that the city of Palm Coast has done to help conserve water. We have a great partnership. I've been here a few times, and then throughout the years, the district and the city's had a great partnership. But it truly goes back, as the proclamation stated, to the citizens and the cooperation that we can get from them, all working together. This is the 20th year that we'll be celebrating and honoring Water Conservation Month in April. So we ask everyone to please do their part, because water truly brings us all together. And it's essential for us, not only for today and tomorrow, but throughout our future. So I thank you for your leadership and your guidance and all that we're doing. And if we can be of any of assistance, we certainly want to be to the citizens and to you as we move forward with our work together. And thank you very much.
And Cindy, I would ask you, since we're in the middle of our competition to be ranked, hopefully, as we have historically with our conservation methods, is there a place where our residents can go online to see tips where they can conserve and do their part? Okay.
Yes, so we do have quite a few tips on our website, and we also have the annual water quality report coming out in our utility bills in May, and that'll include some tips. We also put tips on our Facebook every month, so residents can follow us on facebook.com/Discover Palm Coast and see tips regularly. It's definitely something that we're very proactive about, giving people tips, and of course, that equates to saving money as well, so everyone likes to do that. And as he mentioned, we are going to be doing the National Mayor's Challenge for Water Conservation in the month of April, so we want everybody to renew their pledge, but not till April.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chair Wendell. Oops, sorry.
Absolutely.
No. Okay. She just said she couldn't get you in the picture.
Okay, agenda item number 4 is a presentation on our utility awards.
Cindy is going to handle this, and we've got a special guest here today that she will introduce and go from there.
Yes, so we're very honored today to have 2 representatives from the Florida section of the American Waterworks Association. It's Bill Young, the chair, and Kim Kowalski, the vice chair. And they're going to be presenting an award, and receiving the award on behalf of the utility is Randy Zaleski, the Utility Systems Manager.
Thank you, and good morning. I am Bill Young. I'm the chair for the state section of AWWA this year. AWWA, American Waterworks Association, is the premier professional organization in the water industry. Our section of Florida, we have about 2,600 members currently, from vendors and representatives to consultants to water providers like your employees and like me at St. Johns County. So we're very proud to be here today. This is one of the best parts of having this job. Kim Kowalski is also the vice chair, was mentioned. She's joined me. She drove over from Sanford area to be here today as well. So the award we want to present to your distribution crew is the Outstanding Water Distribution System, Division 5, first place, City of Palm Coast. It was presented November 29th, 2017 at our last fall conference. So we're here to actually present it to your board, present it to your staff. I want to tell you, in my real job, I'm the utility director for St. Johns County, right up the road. So I know what a good utility looks like, and you all should be very proud of your utility department. You know you continue to win awards, top ops every year on a national level, and these are not easy to get. I can tell you, I've been telling my staff to pursue these for years, and we haven't won one yet. So it kind of bothers me. But I'm very happy for you, and this is something you should be very proud of. It's a good reflection on your staff and the professionalism and the commitment that they have. You know, it looks at criteria such as safety and frequency of waterline breaks. We're talking about conservation today. You want to minimize those breaks. You want to handle them quickly. You want to do them correctly and professionally. They're inevitable. It's how you handle them that makes a difference. And your department handles them in a first-class way. So I want to congratulate you and your staff for this prestigious award. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill, and for the Florida section of the American Waterworks Association. We are honored to be recognized for this award for the quality of our water distribution system. All the credit goes to our utility technicians who work hard 24/7 to maintain the water, the quality of the water, and the pressures in our system. And it's their dedication to our residents and to the city that has won this award. Thank you.
Richard, why don't you come up and join them? I think you deserve some recognition in this also.
Shuffle or
Slide left.
super.
Thank you. Thank you.
Either way, yeah.
Following them.
Much appreciate the kind words.
Just take their picture.
Okay, this is great. Exciting morning. Agenda item number 5 is a presentation, Florida Hospital Flagler Health and Wellness Initiative Sponsorship for Events.
Good morning again.
Morning.
Alex is going to take the lead on this. He's actually got a little presentation for you for a great partnership we have with our local hospital. Alex, take it away.
Morning, Mayor, City Council. Actually, Brittany's going to be doing the presentation this morning for us. I'm just going to be assisting.
Good morning. My name is Brittany McDermott. I'm the Parks and Recreation Marketing Supervisor here with the City of Palm Coast. Very excited to announce our new partnership with Florida Hospital Flagler, who is here today with us. And they're going to be helping us to provide some health and wellness events with Parks and Recreation. When we as a department first started looking at our health and wellness initiatives and sort of focusing our programming, we kind of looked towards Florida Hospital Flagler. They were already supporting some of our current programs, and so it became a conversation of how we could expand on that and make it a little more official. One of the best parts is we share a common goal and mission in that we are constantly seeking to improve the quality of life for our residents. And health and wellness and quality of life really go hand in hand, so it further solidified the need for more events to sort of push that message. As I mentioned, they do currently support some programs, and they're going to continue to do that. Some of those include our lunch and lecture series and coffee series. They've actually had some of their own doctors come and be speakers throughout those series. They're also going to continue to support July's Parks and Rec Month and our Senior Games events, but we're also excited to announce some new programs that they'll be supporting, such as the Mayor's 30-30 Challenge and some public health screening events at the community center. I want to go into a little bit more detail about some of those. So the first is our Mayor's 30-30 Challenge. This is actually starting really soon, March 24th, and it'll run through April 23rd. The goal of this challenge is for participants to obtain 30 miles in 30 days, doing whatever activity they like, whether it be biking, kayaking, swimming, basically anything that you can track mileage on. And you'll go right onto our website at palmcoastgov.com/healthy and record your mileage. As long as you obtain those 30 miles in that 30-day time period, you're going to receive a great prize at our Arbor Day event on May 5th. And Florida Hospital Flagler's role in this challenge is that they're going to help promote this to the community, as well as provide some of those great prizes at our Arbor Day event. So we're really looking forward to that coming up soon. Next, I want to touch upon our July's Parks and Recreation Month. We as a department participate in this every year, but we were able to get Florida Hospital Flagler on board this year to offer a public health screening event at the soon-to-be-open community center. The health screening event is actually going to take place July 27th from 10 to 2. They're going to be offering free pulse checks, blood pressure checks, height and weight, BMI analysis, things like that, as well as some one-on-one conversations with staff that will be available on site that day as well. We're really looking forward to offering this public health screening event and having even more of those in the future. I know they're looking forward to offering some more as well. And then lastly, I wanted to talk about the Palm Coast and the Flagler Beaches Senior Games. It's coming up September 7th through the 23rd. We're going to have 11 different sporting events stretched out over those 3 weeks, and we've got some new exciting sporting events like cribbage, cornhole, even sailboat racing. We just want to really expand the audience that's able to participate in that event. And Florida Hospital Flagler is going to have the opportunity to host some community outreach booths at those sporting events, as well as have a physical therapist available in case of injuries, because sometimes those do happen. So we're looking forward to that coming up as well. And as I mentioned, those are just some of the programs that we currently have scheduled that we're partnering on. We're really looking forward on expanding on that in the future. I actually want to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Ron Jimenez, the CEO of Florida Hospital Flagler, to say a few words as well.
Morning, Council. Ron Jimenez, CEO of Florida Hospital Flagler. This health and wellness sponsorship between Florida Hospital Flagler and Palm Coast Parks and Recreation was designed to motivate individuals to live healthier lives. And this aligns perfectly with the vision of Florida Hospital Flagler to provide holistic care. And by holistic care, what we mean is care that addresses not just the physical health, but also emotional and spiritual health as well. As leaders of healthcare in Flagler County, we have a long-standing commitment to not only provide health and wellness to our community, but also to support the wellness of our community members by creating healthier physical and social environments. This partnership aligns with our cultural framework and supports our mission, vision, and values. We put health and wellness at the center of our organization, which has been rooted in the Adventist Health Ministry for nearly 150 years. We couldn't be more excited about this opportunity and the impact we will make on the community by motivating individuals to set and improve lifestyle goals. Thank you very much.
We want want to thank you very much for your time today. We're definitely excited to be officially kicking off this partnership, and there's going to be a lot of great things to come in the very near future. We really want to encourage all of our citizens to join us in helping to build a healthy community. And thank you. I'll take any questions at this time if there are any.
Any questions? Just thank you for your initiative and actually partnering with a great organization that's here in our community that does align tremendously with our goals. So I would just suggest to all of our residents, let's get moving. Please sign up, take those, the 30 to 30 challenge. I think it's achievable if we do it correctly and we offer the programs that we're offering. So thank you. Great.
Sure.
We're missing one. Brandon, you're not going to get out of this opportunity.
Brandon's hiding. All right, and then I just would ask for you all to kind of scoot together. Okay, Megan's going to go first. Okay, so we can't see your face. Wally. All right, keep smiling. We've got two photographers today. All right, we got it. Thank you.
Next on our agenda is agenda item number 6, which is an ordinance. Mr. Reichman.
Yes, Mayor, Council. This is a legislative matter, and the title of the ordinance is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the City of Palm Coast 2035 Comprehensive Plan as previously amended. This is pursuant to Section 163 Florida statutes, amending the future land use map or FLUME designation for 196 acres more or less of certain real property from mixed use, high intensity, and industrial, which is the Flagler County designations, to mixed use, which is the City of Palm Coast designation. And this is as described in more detail in the legal description, which is an exhibit to this ordinance. This ordinance includes a note on the future land use map to limit development within the Colbert Preserve Roberts Point Master Plan Development Area to 1,500 dwelling units and 200,000 square feet of non-residential use, and includes a new policy 1.1.2.7 to the future land use element. This ordinance provides for conflict, codification, severability, and effective date. Again, this is a legislative matter, Madam Mayor.
Mayor, City Council, actually the presentation will cover this item and the following 3, so items 6 through 9 are all related. You have to take separate action on it, but we'll have one presentation. This is a second reading, and normally we don't even make a presentation on a second reading, but there were a few minor changes, so Jose is going to outline what those minor changes are. I'd just like to add that this is just indicative of, we're growing again, and you see a lot of activity right now, and this is just one of those. So, Jose, take it from here.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and members of City Council. Jose Papa for the Community Development Department. And I'll present items related to Colbert Lane, Roberts Road, and 2 items here, Comprehensive Plan Amendment and Zoning Map Amendment on second reading. Again, our subject area is about 196 acres, annexed in 2015 The area is currently vacant with the exception of 2 large industrial buildings facing Roberts Road. And this area is under multiple ownership, which I will outline briefly in the next slide. You see that Tuesday Corporation owns a 2-acre parcel at the corner of Roberts Road and Colbert Lane. The Smith properties, totaling about 10 acres, right on Roberts Road, and that's the developed parcel, 2 industrial buildings. And the remainder, about 184 acres, owned by Sunbelt Holdings, Colbert Lane LLC, and that would be makes up the bulk of the area. Going over the comprehensive plan amendment, currently it's designated with Flagler County designations of mixed-use, high-intensity, and industrial. Again, the bulk of the area, mixed-use, high-intensity, and about 7 acres, 5 acres here, and 2 acres here, designated as industrial on the county comprehensive plan map. Under the proposed comprehensive plan amendment, it will be changed to a city designation of mixed use and including a limit on the development on the future land use map. That's a development that limits the Colbert Lane, Colbert Preserve, Roberts Point MPD, which is outlined in yellow, to 1,500 dwelling units and 200,000 square feet of non-residential use. After first reading, this amendment was transmitted to the state land planning agency and other agencies of the state like the Water Management District and DOT. And we did receive one recommendation, and that's from the state land planning agency. And that's to just include basically a policy within our future land use element that expressly approves the Colbert Preserve, Roberts Point MPD for a development of up to 1,500 dwelling units and 200,000 square foot residential use. So that would be incorporated into our comprehensive plan as future land use element policy 1.1.2.7. Given that amendment, staff's findings remain the same. There's really no significant impact on level of service for public infrastructure. There's no significant impact on environmental conditions in this area. It is consistent with surrounding land uses and internally consistent with our comprehensive plan. So staff is recommending approval for the comprehensive plan amendment. Moving on to the zoning map amendment, again, we have multiple ownerships in this area, and we will go over each of the proposed zoning amendment for each owner of those parcels. Again, just this 196-acre area, currently 184 acres in mixed-use PUD, Grand Reserve West PUD, and 12 acres of industrially zoned land. As proposed, there's been no changes from first reading. The corner parcel owned by Tuesday Corporation will be designated as general commercial. The 10-acre industrial site on which is currently developed with 50,000, 40,000 square foot industrial buildings will be designated as light industrial, and that designation does protect the existing uses that are on that site. And finally, the bulk of the subject area, 184 acres, will be designated master plan development to be called the Colbert Preserve Roberts Point MPD. At first reading, Council directed staff to address some comments that we received from interested parties, and based on those comments, we have amended the MPD development agreement for the following. The permitted uses have been amended to prohibit kennels and animal boarding, and to clarify that screening requirements are required for outdoor storage, including mini warehouse, office warehouse, and self-storage uses. And some uses will become special exceptions, like LP gas dealer, bulk storage, and towing services. The MPD agreement now will include explicit language regarding the screening and requirements for outdoor storage and for RV and boat storage. And those screening requirements would be consistent with what we already have in our land development code. Other changes, as provided by comment from other parties, the maximum height for non-residential uses on fronting Roberts Road will be reduced to 45 feet from 60. The setbacks for non-residential uses on Roberts Road will be increased from 20 to 25 feet, and a required landscape buffer of 15 feet, consistent with residential uses on Roberts Road. And finally, it limits residential units of 800 square feet or less to no more than 25% of the total number of units to be developed on site. So based on those amendments to the MPD development agreement and no changes to the other zoning map amendments, staff's recommending the following, or is recommending approval of all the zoning map amendments, and that's the 2 acres from Flagler County Industrial to City of Palm Coast General Commercial, 10 acres from Flagler County Industrial to City of Palm Coast Light Industrial, and approval of the change from Flagler County PUD to City of Palm Coast MPD, along with the development agreement, including the changes provided in the MPD development agreement since first reading. That concludes staff presentation.
Questions? Vice Mayor Novio.
Jose, the only change really between the first reading and the second reading is an addition to the flume of the description of the restrictions, right?
Yes, sir.
So it originally was 200,000 square foot of,
Yes,
and
sir.
1,500 dwellings.
Yes, sir. The
Okay.
state land planning agency just requested additional clarification within
Okay,
the policy.
and most of these, based on the ratio of dwellings to acreage, most of these are going to be multi-unit developments, like maybe condos.
It's possible, yes.
Can only fit 1,500 units on a tenth of an acre.
It's a cap. It's a cap on development.
Well, includes, if you build a condo, it's each unit in the
Yes, sir.
condo and so on. Okay.
Yes, sir. Each condo counts as one unit.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The impact on our infrastructure and also our streets and roads, I saw that there was no predicted impact. Is that just because the impact that we're assessing here is actually the changing in zoning from Flagler County to our Palm Coast standards, and that's why there's no potential impact because this isn't actually the development of that land?
That accounts for a lot of the non-significant impact, that it was already entitled for a certain amount of development with the county designation. And so the city designation, it really, not to get too deep into it, but at the time of site plan review or platting, then we get more in depth with the engineering requirements to accommodate the development of this site.
Understood. And now that we're seeing more activity on Colbert Lane, would that put a higher priority on us extending our reuse infrastructure up Colbert so that we can ensure that's...
I would leave that question up to, the utility department would probably be better served to answer that. But
And as previous comments from City Council, we are looking at it as to, whether it makes sense for us to put a higher priority on that and pull that down sooner.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now open it up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 6, please do so at this time. Seeing no one, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 7, which is an ordinance. Mr. Reichman.
Yes, Madam Mayor, Council. The next 3 items are all quasi-judicial, even though it's second reading. Ordinance, number 7, agenda item number 7 is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning maps established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. This ordinance amends the zoning designation for approximately 2 acres, more or less, of certain real property from Flagler County designation of industrial to the City of Palm Coast designation of general commercial, or COM2. That's as described in more detail in the legal description, which is an exhibit to this ordinance. It provides for conflict, severability, and effective date. Just go through this once. But if there's been any ex parte communications on the next 3 items since the first reading, then those should be disclosed.
Any?
None. No.
I've spoken to a few Grand Haven residents.
Okay, since there'll be no presentation, I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 7, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 8, which is an ordinance. Mr. Reichman.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. This ordinance amends the zoning designation for approximately 10.1 acres, more or less, located at 465 and 551 Roberts Road. This is a change from Flagler County designation of industrial to City of Palm Coast designation of a light industrial, or IND1. This ordinance subjects properties, the subject properties are more particularly depicted and it's described in Exhibit A. This ordinance provides for conflicts, for severability, and provides for an effective date.
No additional comments.
Open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 8, please do so at this time. None, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 9, which is an ordinance. Mr. Reichman.
Just give me a second, looking for the title.
If you had electronically, it'd go a lot quicker.
It's not in my agenda packet. Could I borrow your?
Yes.
Apologize, Mayor, it's not in my agenda packet.
I have to show you I can do it quickly, don't I?
You do.
Billable hours.
Do you want me just to?
The agenda title is not the complete title that's been advertised. Thank you very much. That's why I need to read the full one. And this is an ordinance of the City Council, City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the amendment of the official zoning map as established in Section 2.06 of the City of Palm Coast Unified Land Development Code. It's amending the zoning designation for approximately 184 acres from Flagler County designation of mixed use high intensity or planned unit development to the city designation of master plan development or MPD with a development agreement. This is a subject property more particularly described in Exhibit A and graphically depicted in Exhibit B. This provides for conflicts for severability and provides for an effective date.
Okay, no presentation. I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 9, please do so at this time. And I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to the council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval. Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. We'll now move to ordinances on our first read. Agenda item number 10 is an ordinance.
Yes, Madam Mayor, this one is in my agenda packet, so I will read it. The title. This is also quasi-judicial, and it's the first reading. This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, providing for the first amended and restated Master Plan Development or MPD Development Agreement for the Grand Landings MPD. It's providing for an amendment to Section 6B1, Wetland and Wetland Buffer, and Section 7A, or Site Development Plan. Provides for a reduction in the minimum lot width for a single-family detached to 45 feet wide, providing for a reduction in the minimum lot size for single-family detached to 5,000 square feet. And this ordinance provides for legislative findings and intent, for conflicts, for severability, and provides for an effective date. Again, this is a quasi-judicial, so if there's been any ex-parte communications on this matter prior to today, those should be disclosed at this time.
Any ex parte?
No.
Mr. Landon.
Mayor, City Council, this is really a minor amendment. It's one that staff has actually initiated some of these to be consistent with our current code and also trying to be consistent with diversifying our housing. So Ida is going to give the presentation on this minor amendment. Ida, take it from here.
Good morning, Mayor and council members.
Morning.
I'm Ian with Community Development. This is the proposed first modification to amend and restate the Grand Landings MPD. It's application 3481. Just some background on Grand Landings. The original zoning was approved by Flagler County as a planned unit development in 2005. It was annexed into the City of Palm Coast in 2007. In 2014, the city amended the planned unit development to master plan development to be consistent with our land development code in 2014. So the City of Palm Coast Ordinance 2014-11 is the controlling document and establishes the site development regulations for Grand Landings. In terms of location, of course, it's south of Flagler County Airport, south of State Road 100, east of Bell Tower Boulevard, and west of Seminole Woods Parkway. The zoning, as stated, is master plan development. The future land use is, for the most part, residential. However, you will note that there is commercial oriented to Seminole Woods Parkway. The property is 774 acres in size. And also, I'd like to note that the current master plan development allows single-family detached homes and single-family attached homes. In terms of where Grand Landings is today, the master plan development allows up to 749 units. The master plan development establishes multiple phases. Currently, Grand Landings is completing phase 3B and 3C. And in terms of the number of platted lots of the residential component of the project, we estimate that it's about 40% complete or more underway. Also, the community center amenity is complete. In terms of the applicant's request, it relates to two sections of the current master plan development. Section 6B1 relates to the wetland buffer language, and Section 7A relates to the site development plan program for the master plan development. In terms of the request as it relates to the wetland buffer element, the request is basically to allow averaging consistent with our current land development code. This is permitted in Chapter 10.0108A of our Unified Land Development Code. Currently, the MPD establishes a 25-foot wetland buffer minimum. The proposed change is to allow an average of 25 feet, but no less than 15 feet, again, consistent with our current land development code. As part of this request, the city asked, and the applicant concurred, to allow wildfire mitigation as an allowable use in the wetland buffer, and this enhances the fire-wise component of the project. A neighborhood meeting was held on February 12th. There were some concerns about changes to entitlements and changes to the overall development program. However, I'd like to just clarify that there is no proposed change to the number of units, to the minimum house size, to the setbacks, to the open space, or the overall development program. Again, this is more fine-tuning of the program as it exists today. In terms of the site development program change, the request is to allow the minimum lot size to be reduced from 50 feet to 45 feet, and to allow the minimum lot width, to be reduced from 50 feet to 45 feet, and to allow the minimum lot size to be reduced from 6,250 square feet to 5,000 square feet. If this change is approved, it would allow the applicant and developer to introduce a number of prototype homes. This home is called the Ruby. You can see that it has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. It's just a slightly narrower footprint. It's a 1-story home, and I believe it's 1,822 square feet. And as you can see, it would meet our architectural guidelines. This is another prototype home that can be built on a 45-foot wide lot. This is called the Coral. This has a slightly smaller footprint. It's a 2-story home, and again, it has ample space. I think it's approximately 1,700 square feet. So to summarize staff findings, we find that it's not in conflict with the public interest. It's consistent with the comprehensive plan, that it's not going to have a financial impact to the city, and it will comply with all applicable city regulations and compatible with the general surrounding area. So based on our analysis, staff is recommending, consistent with the planning board recommendation, to approve the 4 proposed amendments to Ordinance 2014-11 and adopt the proposed first amended and restated Grand Landings Master Plan Development. That concludes my comments for the time being. The applicant is here also, should you have questions.
Council, before we open it up for the applicant to take time to present if he wishes, do we have any questions for our staff?
I do have one. The meeting that you had in that area, were there any problems at that meeting, anything that the residents wanted addressed?
I was not there, but what was reported was concern about change of entitlements was the main issue, that this was somehow changing the development program, but.
Because of the size of the homes?
No, I think there's a lot of, it was just a clarification of rumors, a lot of misinformation out there. So that, as I understand, the neighborhood information meeting was more of a clarification of those rumors that were flying.
If I may, it's a great example of why neighborhood meetings are important, is you get the information out to people, and that's exactly what happened here. They were thought there were some other things happening that were not part of this program. So it worked out very well.
All the questions for our staff at this time?
Actually, I do have one, Mayor, if I may. Ida, can you show us on the overall site plan where you gave us a breakdown of current development and future development. Where are these lots going to go generally, do we know, for future development?
The future development would be on the western portion of the site. As you can see.
Ida, you can actually circle.
Yeah, I can I? There you go. It'd be over here.
Okay.
If that helps.
Yeah. Yep. It does. Thank you.
Okay. The applicant wishes to make any comments at this time?
Good morning, Commission. Jeff Douglas. I'm the developer in Grand Landings. So we're just here to answer any questions before you. But just on your one comment, Commissioner, with our neighborhood meeting, there was concern about the product type, saying, hey, you're going to reduce our home values, et cetera, et cetera. So, we addressed that. I imagine there's always concern in people's minds towards that. Our drive is to a healthy community, and we, as it stands now, we could develop the rest of the project out in townhomes. And that's just the direction we're trying to, look forward to the future, housing product type choices. And this supplants the drive towards townhomes, because that would be our next move. So we feel that we'd be keeping with the community. So just to direct you to that, there was concern on that. So thank you.
I'll now open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 10, please do so at this time.
Good morning, George Mayo, Palm Coast. My question is, Ms. Shipley had a question for Ida about any comments during the public meeting, and she stated that she was not there at the public meeting. I wonder if anybody from the city was there, and if they were, to make them available for anything like this, so if there are questions from the council, that they can be answered and not say, I believe, I heard, and rumors, et cetera. So in the future going forward, thank you.
Your comments. Next speaker. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'm assuming we had staff at the meeting?
I don't believe so. These are the meetings where the developer meets with the neighborhood, but Ray can address that.
Yeah, our requirement in our code, it's really a developer neighborhood type meeting. And what we require, we're not required to be there. It's really for them. And we implemented this in 2008. And what they do is they give us an attachment of the issues, and they're required to give us, what is being discussed. Sometimes we go and sometimes we don't. But like Mr. Landon mentioned, since 2008, it's been working really well. So it's really the developer's opportunity to get with their neighbors, to see what their issues are and try to resolve them. But we are aware of all the issues, the information notice they sent us after the meeting.
I don't know if I like that concept, actually. I understand that it's coming from the developer, but, you know, we are working collaboratively on behalf and recognizing if there are concerns on behalf of our residents, that we need to hear all sides of those concerns, and it needs to be brought out publicly. So it might have been a practice, but
The concept is that the developer gets with the residents, and then the residents get informed, and then they provide us their feedback, both staff, planning board, and city council. So, I mean, we can go, but it's still that dialogue of the developer.
I'm not asking for the staff to intercede in any way, but I do think it's important for the staff to hear when there's an impact in the neighborhood in our community, and they're going to be addressing that impact to us as a policy decision. Then I do think it was beneficial to have all the stakeholders there, not to participate, but to at least acknowledge some of the discussion that's going on.
And we could do that. And sometimes when we do have a neighborhood, the first initial neighborhood meeting, we see that there's a lot of contention, we have more than one. We'll tell a developer, hey, you need to go back, we're coming with you, let's try to resolve some of the issues with the neighbors. But we can surely go to the first one.
I think it's just helpful.
Yep.
The one thing I want to avoid is that they feel they've been heard by the city at that point, because they haven't. If this is a quasi-judicial scenario where we're having a meeting or, you know, they can't, the staff can't come back and talk to us. They have to, what I want to make sure is they're aware that this is a developer, and if they want us to hear, they need to come to the meeting but you're right, I'm not opposed to someone being there, but I want them to know, you want the council to hear what your concerns are. You need to come to the meeting and do that, or email us, you know, and get in touch with us, not through a third party of someone being there, but a good idea for somebody to be there to hear what's going on.
And we can also help them with process. If we're there, we're fine. We can go to the initial meeting. If they have any questions on where's it going next and what the process, we can have staff there to answer those questions for them.
Yeah, I think that's helpful because some of these issues are very technical in nature, and certainly from to the process as a whole. Again, that we're really making sure that we're staying on top of these types of land use issues. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I will take it back to this council and I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval. Ask for public comment? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 11 is an ordinance. Mr. Reichman.
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Earning his money today.
I tell you. Good thing this water's down here. Mayor, Council, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Coast, Florida, submitting to the electors of Palm Coast proposed amendments to the Charter of the City of Palm Coast, which shall be considered by ballot, providing ballot titles and summaries for the proposed charter amendments, providing for direction to the city clerk, providing for conflict severability, and providing for an effective date for the ordinance and for the approved amendments.
Mayor, City Council, this is directly relative to your workshop and what you asked us to do, so this is kind of one of the final steps. Bill is actually taking the lead on this, so he's going to make the presentation. I thought he would just move on into the next stage, but take it from here, Bill.
Well, if you could put the first screen on so the council and the public can understand where we are in the process. And as the city manager indicated, what you're seeing here this morning is what you've seen before with the changes that you asked for, you discussed and asked for last week at the workshop. So what we've included in your agenda packet is the ordinance, and the ordinance attaches the title of each proposed change, and there's 3 of them, as well as the summary. That's what's required by the Florida statutes as far as what's included in the ordinance and what the voters will see. But what also is included is a strike-through underline in your agenda packet. for the 3 proposed amendments. So if that's clear, then I was going to just go through and reiterate some of the changes that you asked us to make at the workshop from what was proposed, from 5 proposed amendments down to 3, and one of the 4 was not eliminated, it was just incorporated into the first proposed amendment. So with that introduction, setting the context, let me go to the very first one, which is, if you look at the summary, you'll see that there was some changes that you asked us to make in that part of the ordinance to try to make it clearer to those folks that would if this passes on second reading, would be voting in November. So we did make those changes to the summary, which is going to be on the ballot. So if that's satisfactory to you, then I want to make sure we got that right. Good. So as far as what that First Amendment does, because it is it makes a lot of changes. Most of them are as to form. They're bringing the charter up to 2018, considering that this original charter was crafted in 1999. There's an Exhibit A to the agenda packet, and I've just gone through and highlighted for those folks that may have some questions about what we're talking about with this bringing it up to speed. We reformatted the beginning of the charter so that it just jumps right into what the powers of the city are and what the form of government are, because the old charter had some introductory language that was really out of date and was unnecessary. And you may remember this was at the suggestion of your facilitator. She thought that it would be better to do it that way. And that was something that all of you said would be fine. So we've done that, and it's shown. Probably the biggest thing from a standpoint of simplifying and making this charter more readable so folks, citizens can understand the constitution of their government, their local government, is we've removed the pages and pages and pages and pages of meets and bounds description of the city, as well as the 4 districts. That takes about 50, believe it or not, about 50 pages out of your charter. And so what we're going to replace it with, obviously, is an ordinance, which will be incorporated by reference. So that's the language that is provided for in this one amendment. Just briefly, a couple smaller ones. You may remember that there was a specific discussion of the initial 1999 charter council and mayor salaries, even though in the original charter it said that they'll be as established by ordinance. So that was duplicative and really kind of conflicting, if you will. So we took out the specific. We left it that the council and mayor salaries be set by ordinance. We just took out the 1999 salaries, which were contained in there. There was a big section at the end about the transition. Well, we're not transitioning anymore. We actually have gotten that done since 1999, so we don't really need that in there anymore. And lastly, as far as this First Amendment, or this first proposed change to your charter, you may remember that there was a discussion by our consultant about, it'd be a good idea to have a specific language and a process for initiative and a referendum. And we discussed this last week, and you felt that would be best to be done by ordinance. It's good to have it, and we're going to do it. We'll do it by ordinance if this amendment passes. And that's referenced. So that's added. That's a sentence that's added within this First Amendment. So those are the highlights of bringing your charter up to 2018. Okay.
So any questions?
No. One comment, if I may.
Hang on.
Oh, you're not done?
Yeah, I know. So we got 2 more. I'm trying to make this simple. That was the one that probably was the biggest one. The next one, arguably, is one that received a lot of discussion, and that was to clarify the process for the charter amendment process itself. And so you'll see that what we've done is we've specifically provided that the charter shall be reviewed no later than April 21st, 2028. So it's very specific, and at a minimum every 10 years thereafter. So that way it clarified what arguably was some fairly convoluted language that was created in 1999. Got rid of that, and now it's just very clear. And the only other change that, again, as a clarification, is that for any charter review, a 5-member charter review committee shall be appointed, and there's some changes to that. So we've eliminated any we hopefully eliminated any ambiguity so that those questions won't come up. And lastly, Mayor, is number 3, and that is just providing for an issue that came up having to do with vacancies with the council seats, not the mayor, but the council seats, and in particular, that we changed it from 30 days to 90 days for the purpose of appointment. But if the vacancy occurs within, I believe it was the last 6 months of a council seat, it became a may. You may fill that spot, but you don't have to, because of the situation that we had last couple of years where there was a vacancy, there was an appointment, and it kind of got a little complicated because we're trying to figure out who we're going to appoint at the same time. We're in the middle of an election. So, Mayor, that's a summary, hopefully an explanation of what is being proposed by these charter amendments.
That complete your presentation?
I'm done. Okay.
Council questions?
Yes,
Councilmember Novy.
I just want to reiterate for the public one more time. This document that I'm seeing on my, the marked up document, is that available?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That is on our website now. Correct?
Yeah, it's in the same place that the all charter workshop information is
Okay,
posted.
It's there.
And I did read some articles about, disparage, with how this process went and all that. And I just want to make this point that that's available. And what you put up in your first slide, looks like we're going to have 10 meetings on this when we're all said and done. So don't see any point where if you didn't get yourself heard, it's because you didn't want to be heard. I mean, and so let's put that to rest. And, I'm just getting calls and emails, not really emails, I'm just getting calls and yells out in the streets, hey, that process was bogus. And I'm thinking, but we had 10 meetings, we're going to have ultimately 10 meetings. So everybody had a good chance. And I want, if this is your final chance.
Well, actually,
One more, right, that's what I'm saying, you got one more shot to go up there and
your
read
final
it.
chance is when you vote.
And then you could vote. But yeah, if you want to see something changed, it's getting down to it's 11:59. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Council, any questions before I open up to the public? Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 11, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council, entertain a motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 12, which is an ordinance.
You're right.
She's always right. That's it. I'm sending out the docking pay document.
Madam Mayor, this is a quasi-judicial matter. It is first reading, and I'm looking for the title. I apologize very much. My agenda packet got a little out of order, and I cannot find it in here.
This one I don't have either, so not sure what happened there.
Mayor, this is an ordinance to rezone 9.09 acres, more or less, from from Flagler County COM 2 to PSB to Palm Coast Town Center MPD.
Mayor, City Council, this is actually a Wawa development we've all been hearing about. It was a property we recently sold to the developer at the corner of Bulldog Drive and State Road 100. It is one presentation that covers not just this ordinance, which is a zoning change, but also the following 3 resolutions that are tied into this whole development. So we're going to do one presentations for items 12 through 15. It's a good example of redevelopment is a little more complicated than when you have vacant land, and so there are issues associated with this that we've worked very hard and diligently with the developer to try to work through, and think we've got good solutions. turning this over to Jose to start off with, and then we'll go on to the whole team.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. I'm going to lead off the presentation this morning. To give a little context and a little history, back in 2004, City Council adopted the State Road 100 CRA plan with the goals of really redeveloping both this area, which is known as the Midway Park subdivision, and the Whispering Pines further to the east. Just so you're aware, this area developed before the city was a city, and even so much so before really ITT really developed Palm Coast. So it started off as a residential subdivision with no infrastructure, basically all in well and septic, dirt roads, no storm water. And so when the city adopted the CRA plan, this was one of our focus areas for redeveloping. At the start of the CRA, the city acquired many of the properties that we're willing to sell to try to assimilate property for redevelopment. After we went through the recession, City Council directed staff to develop a request for proposals for developers to try to get some of this redevelopment started. And Unicorp responded. City Council entered into a contract to sell some property and exchange some property so we could have this redevelopment occur. Unicorp has since closed on phase 1 of that property with the city, and so now today, after a lot of hard work, and as Mr. Landon said, redevelopment is not easy, and so staff and the developer have been working through a number of issues in order to move this project forward and really jumpstart the entrance to downtown and the redevelopment. So with that, I just wanted to give that overview and then turn it over to Bill for the details of the actual rezoning.
Good morning. Bill Hoover from the Community Development Department. The site actually is shown in yellow there, and it's 9.09 acres located on the east side of the high school. The subject property on the future land use map is designated mixed use, while the properties around it to the west is institutional, to the north and to the east is DRI urban core. To the northeast, you can see the green conservation area. Additionally, further to the east is mixed use, and to the south and southeast is high intensity commercial, and to the southwest is industrial designated properties. On the zoning map on the left, you can see that the subject property, approximately the southern 1/3 is zone COM2, general commercial, while the northern 2/3 is zone PSP, as in public, semi-public. And on the zoning map on the right, you can see that the MPD that would have a base COM2 underlying zoning district standards fits in nicely with the surrounding area. To the northeast and to the east, you've got an MPD. Again, that's like COM2 area. And then we also have COM2 lands to the south and southeast. You've got C2 and a PUD for general commercials. And then to the southwest, you've got a mixture of commercial and light industrial uses. The project's intended to be developed in 2 phases, and in this case, the north arrow is going to the left. So in phase 1, in the bottom right-hand corner, is the Wawa convenience store with the gas pumps closer to State Route 100. The area in the upper left in gray is where the large oversized stormwater pond would go. And then additionally, the developer would be making improvements to the Midway Drive right-of-way. This is a preliminary site plan that we asked the developer to do because of this redevelopment. The planning and development-wise, the biggest struggle everyone had was the limited frontage on State Route 100, and it's a little bit less than 200 feet there. And generally, commercial is like 250, 275 for an out parcel, so we're a little bit thin for a convenience store. So the land development code does allow, including the future land use element, allows modifications to the strict adherence of the Land Development Code standards in a MPD. So one of these standards that we're asking to modify is that the canopy setback would, instead of being 10 feet, would be 5 feet. And as we get on a little bit later in the slideshow, you'll see I'm showing the area that's being a Midway Drive that's being vacated. And so the setback, when the right-of-way gets vacated, the new setback line moves to the edge of the right-of-way, so it would move a little bit closer to the upper blue line there. The second modification would be to reduce the setback for the sign along Bulldog Drive, and it would be below the Wawa store there. It would go from 10 feet to 5 feet. And the third modification is one that was suggested by staff. And because of the way the Land Development Code is set up for monument signs, the size of your monument sign is based on how much road frontage you have. So in this case, the frontage along State Route 100, where you'd think the bigger sign would go, actually there's less than 50% of the frontage there than there is on Bulldog Drive. So in that case, we'd have the big sign on Bulldog Drive, the small sign on State Route 100. So we've asked the developer to consider moving the big sign to State Route 100, where you got a wider right-of-way, traffic's going faster, and it's more commercial in nature. And then have the more professional office-type sign, let's say, going along Bulldog Drive and the entrance to Town Center.
I have a quick question. The parking lot across the street at FPC, I mean, when it rains, it's normally, you know, it's flooded a lot. I know it's a challenge because it's an older parking lot and system. Would this development be able to remedy any of, I know it's on the other side of the street, but some of the drainage issues? Do we have a similar drainage problem over on this side, I'm assuming? Do we?
Well, the fact of it is they're doing a separate stormwater pond so that the water from this property will not be contributing to any of the stormwater at the high school. The solution, the water to the high school flows the other way. It doesn't flow towards the east. It actually goes into that pond that's back there by the buses. And Mayor, we have taken steps to help alleviate that. One of the storms, one of the pumps did not kick on, and that is why it flooded this last time. But we have corrected that, and we've also got an alarm system on it now that will help us. So we think we've addressed the concern the best you can, but you know, when you have a major storm, you never can guarantee. But this site really won't have any impact on it, positive or negative.
Okay, thank you.
Another modification was, you can see the blue arrow there where it says parapet. The requirement in the Land Development Code limits parapets to 15% in height above the supporting wall. But what's happened over the last 5-10 years is air conditioning equipment has grown dramatically in size, and so we're having trouble with that 15%. So we're asking that 15% be increased to 25% so we can easily screen the mechanical equipment on the roof.
And the parapet is an architectural term? What is that? Is that an engineered term?
What the parapet does, it's like a flat roof.
Okay.
And then the parapet wall comes up a little bit higher. So it's really an architectural feature that's pretty common on, let's say, higher quality buildings that are flat roofs.
It's basically the exterior wall above the roof.
Yeah. And
Go ahead.
Mayor, Bill, just so we're clear, are the artist renderings that you're showing us here, I assume they are scale? This is the parapet wall that would be constructed based on the higher percentage?
Yeah, I think they're actually going to end up being somewhere around 20%. So we just made it 25% to make a little bit leeway. So those are actually to scale from the architect that the property owner, developer has hired. So yeah, it may increase just a slight bit on that just to make sure. I think those came in at maybe 15%, but then we started looking, it's like, wow, this is not a real high wall, so that 15% may make it tough to screen it. So yeah, that wall might go as much as, say the parapet, the most it would go would be another 60% more than what's shown.
Bob, I think you're right that these renderings are 15%. If you were to eyeball it, doesn't look like it's close to 25%, right?
Plus, I couldn't make out the dimensions on the drawings, that's why I asked. I'm just curious to see what it looks like. Obviously, I'd rather look at that than the air conditioning equipment, but.
So another modification was that, or clarification, we have a requirement for convenience stores that the maximum canopy clearance is 15 feet. And so in this case, the roof is angled, so where do you really measure that? And so there's a horizontal bar in there. You can see by where the green arrows are. So in that case, they do meet the canopy clearance, but we just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
Hey, Bill, can you go back one slide? What is that?
That's a canopy, how it would look if you're driving down State Route 100. So that's the front view.
That's the front or the back towards the store?
Right, the lower part of the canopy is going to face State Route 100, and the higher part is going to face the convenience store.
Okay, so if you're driving down 100 and you look, that's what you'll see. Okay. Sorry.
Another clarification on the land development code. Typically, if you have a street, there's a buffer required along that. And in this case, along Midway Drive. Midway Drive is planned on being vacated in phase 2. So that's the primary reason not to have any landscape buffer there. And we have that alternative landscape buffer thing in the land development code. So we asked the developer to provide a hardscape feature back, 2 of those, which they're doing in the area to the rear of the convenience store. Planning staff reviews each rezoning and development order for 5 criteria per the code in section 2.0505. You have to meet all 5 of these criteria. A, must not be in conflict with the public interest, must be consistent with comprehensive plan and the land development code, must not impose a significant hardship or liability on the city, must not create an unreasonable hazard or nuisance, and must comply with all applicable government standards, whether they're local, state, or federal. And there's a detailed analysis in the staff report on this, and just a brief summary of those is the MPD rezoning would not create a nuisance, hazard, or any compatibility issues, as it meets all development standards and is compliance with the mixed-use designation on the future land use map. And the redevelopment of the site is also consistent with numerous policies of the transportation element and the future land use element of the comprehensive plan. The project also meets the Gateway Overlay Zone and the Land Development Code. At the planning board approximately 4 weeks ago, no one spoke from this project for or against it. After the planning board reviewed it, they approved it, recommendation to the city council by a 6-0 vote. And the 3 related petitions that were mentioned, the first one involves Midway Drive, partial vacation that I'll get into. And then the next 2 are regarding Bulldog Drive right-of-way and an FPL easement that Carl Cody will describe. So on this drawing, the area shown in orange is the vacation of Midway Drive for Phase 1, and it goes back to the phase line. And the yellow shows the new paved street that would be developed to city standards by the applicant, and all the stormwater from not only the Wawa project, but the Midway Drive improvements would go into this stormwater pond that's oversized. The area where you see the X in the Midway Drive orange area, that's where we'll have both a road and the vacation occurring.
Okay, now we get into kind of some separate items. This is a revised right-of-way map for Bulldog Drive. Back when Bulldog Drive was under construction, when the city purchased property, we brought before council a right-of-way map for revised right-of-way for the properties that we own, because a portion of those lots were transferred over to right-of-way, as well as some transfer land from the school district. Since that right-of-way map was approved, the city did obtain the remaining property along the east side of Bulldog Drive. So this is just a revised map that incorporates a portion of those lots, the former GEA Auto property, into this revised right-of-way map. So this is seeking approval for a revised right-of-way map from council. And this kind of goes hand in hand. This is regarding the ultimate configuration of Bulldog Drive for FPL to convert the overhead lines to underground. We had previously approved various FPL easements across those properties that the city owned. They're shown in light blue. And the property that we didn't own at the time, we weren't able to grant FPL easements across them. We now own that property. So this is just to grant FPL an easement across that property so it's a continuous line for their future conversion.
What's the time frame? Has FP&L
There is no
discussed
time
that?
frame. The cost would be on the city at this point in time if we wanted to do that conversion.
To
So
underground?
it was planned to be done with the ultimate configuration of Bulldog when that would be 4-laned.
So, you know, again, I'm thinking about this as an opportunity. I think this sort of reconfiguration makes a lot of sense from the footprint of the development. This is going to be the entrance, the main entrance to our town center. I know we're limited on what we can do as far as the high school goes, but we have a lot of development that we're approving, and I'm wondering, has there ever been discussions on the school district's position on future capacity for their high schools? I know that they're fairly full at FPC, not so full at Matanzas, but they're growing now with the interchange and growth happening over there that may occur. But why I ask this is, you know, I attend football games from time to time, and there's a lot of students that park all along here. They also come out, the buses on Bulldog Drive as well. And I want to make sure we're coordinating with our school district to make sure if there's an opportunity to look at this more comprehensively, it being the entrance to our town center where a lot of future opportunity for growth is going to occur, even for landscaping or reconfiguring their side of things.
Well, yes, we've done a lot of coordination. And in fact, when we did this first phase of Bulldog Drive, and once again, it's not considered the ultimate, because the ultimate would be 4 lanes all the way up to past the school. But what we did was, you may recall, the bus pickup and drop-off was actually on the east side of the school, and it came out real close to State Road 100. So we converted the parking lot there to student parking and put the buses in the back. And then what the buses now do is come out at the very northern end, out there past their athletic fields. What that does for us is get them out of the immediate traffic, the buses out of immediate traffic there at the intersection. It also ends up giving the buses right away over the students coming out of the parking lot, because they're already on Bulldog Drive headed to the signal. And then we, with all the right turns and left turns. So compared to what it used to be, it is much, much better. You know, the whole configuration, I think, is about as good as you can get when it comes to the school impact on Bulldog Drive and vice versa. We are changing, as a result of this, a left turn into this development on Bulldog, but feel like that works very, very nicely for this whole configuration. So, Mayor, the bottom line is, there's been a lot of work has gone into this. The fact that it is redevelopment, the school district donated property for right-of-way along there. We did some landscaping. You might have recalled there was those ugly, dirty ponds that were going right along there. We've piped all that. So this is really, you might say, the second phase instead of the first phase. We call it first phase because it's actually now getting into the development of the property. But the first phase was really all about reconfiguring Bulldog Drive in that area. And it's vastly improved over what it was before. It's hard to remember what a disaster it was before. But I have met with, and not just me, but staff has met with numerous school officials at the central office, at the high school, et cetera, their maintenance to coordinate this.
No, I agree. I mean, listen, when I attended FPC, we had portables. So I can say it's come a long way, but this really is going to be the gateway to a lot of initiatives that we've discussed on this council. And I just want to make sure we're continuing to look at these opportunities as another benefit to enhance it even further.
Right. The right-of-way map is critical because if you, here, let me, the actual road used to come in more like right there, that straight line. And we're encroaching into this area right here is encroaching into the lots where, so that allows for the ultimate for Bulldog Drive. So we're not just developing all of the, what used to be the private lots, we're converting that into public right-of-way. That's one of the actions so that we can have that ultimate configuration as we move forward. So we are looking into the future with this plan.
Sorry, I digress, but I just thought it was appropriate since we're making all these changes.
Yes. The Community Development Department staff recommends approval of the Bulldog Drive revised right-of-way map, granting of the FPL easement that's missing in the parcel vacation of the Midway Drive right-of-way. Additionally, the planning staff and the planning board recommend to City Council approval of the MPD development agreement to rezone the 9.09 acres from general commercial and public, semi-public to Palm Town Center MPD application number 3488. And the developer has representatives here. Additionally, if there's any questions for staff or the developer.
Any questions at this time? Vice Mayor?
Just one question, Bill. I understand the partial vacation of Bulldog Drive. What impact is that going to have on the access to the out parcels that are just east of the land we're talking about? There's still two parcels that aren't.
And let me go back here and I'll show you something that's
yeah, that's a good.
That's probably, let me go back a little bit more. So what we have here is there's a cross-access right here. And that lets this project tie into that, the MPD area to the northeast and east, as well as the further commercial. So what staff's vision is that not only does the Palm Town Center MPD get developed cohesively, but that larger area there. So, you know, I'm not sure what that might be. It might be some mixture of retail. Certainly it could be restaurants, maybe some medical office or professional offices, and maybe some specialty retail.
If I can answer directly, Mr.
I'm not sure I was, excuse me, Bo, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not sure I was clear, Bill. I'm talking about the two out parcels, one of which fronts on 100 and the one that's immediately behind it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, I assume that, yeah.
Yeah, we've looked at that, and we've we had a neighborhood information meeting. I was in attendance, and we discussed that with the McGanns that own the 3 lots on the south side towards State Route 100. There's a used automobile business there, as well as the Ames that own the 2 lots behind that.
Right.
The Ames have what's an old house there, I think was built in 75, and it's being used for storage. Mr. Ames has a window replacement and siding business, and so he keeps some of the new equipment that's coming in that he's going to put on a new remodel. He keeps that there. So the developer has agreed to construct new driveway access points onto Midway Drive, as long as the neighbors are cooperating there. So they would need to grant the developer like a 10-foot wide, 15-foot wide construction easement so they can make those improvements. So with those new improvements, both of those properties should be in a lot better shape, because now they got they got a dirt road or a gravel road, and the only thing that's paved is the apron out on the right-of-way.
Right.
So this would give them a new access there, as well as provide stormwater management over that area. So looking at it from a Gantz standpoint, they were concerned about some of those issues there, and the applicant's engineer discussed how some of the stormwater improvements were going to be done, and they that was a good point. The neighborhood information meeting was there was a little bit of banter back and forth, but then the issues, we heard the issues, the developer heard the issues, and we were able to resolve those. So by the time it went to planning board, no one came and spoke, so it worked out as planned.
Okay. Thanks. That's what I was concerned about. Thank you.
Bill, I want to go back to the signs, okay? So did we state, because I was a little confused there, based on the footage, we are going to put a sign that complies with our current ordinance or not?
Well, all we're doing is, I roughed it out yesterday, and you'd get one sign that would be 53 square feet, and I think our maximum height's like 7-8 feet high. And the one on Bulldog Drive would be a maximum size sign of 96 square feet.
Right.
So the approximate 53 square foot one is, we're suggesting to the developer to move the smaller one to Bulldog Drive and the larger one to State Route 100. So we're meeting the code, but we're transferring the entitlements from one right-of-way to the other.
So if you're on a corner, you have all frontage and that could go anywhere, on any.
You're allowed 2 signs versus 1 sign, one on both streets.
Yes.
That's what you're asking.
But it's based on the combined frontage?
No.
So then how do you, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Well, what would happen typically is the developer would just put up a sign right at the corner, and they would use the bigger one. However, in this case, right there is the town center entry sign that's rather large.
Okay.
So that doesn't allow them to do that.
Oh, okay. So, and here's my concern. I'm all for signs. I don't know if you all remember. I'm big. I want signs. I want to see the stores. What I don't want to do is get into a conflict where we're wavering this, and then, so this is in compliance with our current ordinances.
We're flipping them.
Yeah, but it's still good. Where, somebody on the other corner isn't going to say, hey, wait a minute, time out,
Total amount of square footage is consistent with our code. It's just a matter of where you place the sign.
That's all I want to know. Good. And like I said, I'm all for the sign. I want big signs. I'm good. I don't want a neon. I'm not going to mention any cities, but I like visibility, but I don't want to create confusion because I don't want to hear the phone calls. How come you let them do this? And
Yep.
you know, that kind of stuff.
But Bill's point, and that's where this one has a disadvantage, and
Right.
that is that
Yeah.
the town center entrance sign is right there on the
Right.
corner.
Okay.
Their first request is, can we get rid of that? And of course, our
Yeah,
answer was no. So then we went from there. It's kind of how this
Okay,
works.
I'm good. Thank you.
But now the setbacks are going to be different, though. We're going from 10 to 5. So is that going to be,
That will only be along Midway, which is such a minor, it's basically a driveway
so we're just changing it for them, though, not,
on Mid.
it's not going to be new for the whole city? for
Right,
everyone?
just along Midway, and then they have to do some landscaping, additional landscaping in the back of their place too. So, to mitigate that. So it's not along State Road 100 or Bulldog Drive. Correct, Bill? Just wanted to confirm. But and Midway is really not a street, it is a driveway.
Does the applicant wish to present or answer any
I
questions?
think they advised me yesterday they'd be here for questions, but they didn't have a presentation.
Okay, okay. Welcome.
Brett Mulligan with Unicorp National Developments. We're the developer for the project.
Great.
Here to answer any questions you all may have.
Thank you. Thanks for bringing Wawa here. Everyone's very excited. Think if you could bring a Trader Joe's, it'd be even better, just saying.
I wasn't going to say a word. Driving by one of your other projects over on, well, Dinner Park, and was thinking the same thing the other night.
Yeah, it's a beautiful project, so we're excited. Okay, I will open up to any member of the public that wish to make public comment on this agenda item. Please do so at this time.
Lou Ames from Palm Coast. I own that property adjacent to Midway Drive, and the elevation I found out a couple days ago is going to be anywhere from 18 inches to 3 feet above my property. And I want to publicly object to that encumbrance.
Okay. Is that all?
That's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next speaker. Okay, I'll close public comment.
Mayor, City Council, we're required to maintain access to that property. That's why we're not vacating all of Midway. And you know, they're getting into as far as elevation, the detail of the site plan, which is not what we're dealing with at this point. But the developer will be required to make sure there is access that they can get into their property. So if there is an elevation difference, then that's where they're going to have to grade a driveway for them. But that comes at the time of site plan. But we are required by law to maintain access to their property.
What about water mitigation with something like that? Is that still going to be flow to that pond?
It's all going to flow to the pond, and that's all part of the consideration to not impact adjacent properties with their water.
Okay, if there are no other questions or comments from our council, I'll entertain a motion to approve agenda item number 12.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. We'll now move to agenda item number 13, which is a resolution. I will read the resolution. I'm assuming this is the inclusive.
This is what we've already talked about, so we have no additional comments.
So a resolution approving a revised right-of-way map for Bulldog Drive. Council, any questions on this particular agenda item? If not, we'll open it up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 13, please do so at this time. Now I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council.
Move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 14, a resolution approving the granting of utility easements to Florida Power and Light Company along Bulldog Drive. I'm assuming no comments?
No additional comments.
Okay. Council, any questions or comments? Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 14, please do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council and entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 15, a resolution approving a partial vacation of Midway Drive right-of-way.
No additional comments.
Council, any questions or comments on this agenda item? If none, we'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 15, please do so at this time. See none, I'll close public comment. I'll take it back to this council. Entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 16, which is a resolution approving the final plat for Marina del Palma.
This is the final step in that development along Colbert Lane that you see the dirt moving. Bill will give you the details.
Marina del Palma final plat. It's 109 acres in size, and it's located on the east side of Colbert Lane, approximately 1,400 feet north of Roberts Road. The entrance to the subdivision is existing, and it's Harbor View Drive. The subdivision has 146 single-family lots and 6 tracts for future development. And the performance bond has already been submitted, and it's $2.5 million. The proposed lots and tracts meet all the standards of the Land Development Code and the MPD agreement. Additionally, the plat has been processed technical-wise, so it meets the Land Development Code and Florida statutes, Chapter 177. Staff recommends City Council approve the resolution approving the final plat for Marina del Palma subdivision, application number 3414, and authorize the mayor to sign the final plat.
There be a presentation?
No, this is very technical in nature. There's,
Okay.
yep.
Any council questions or comments on this agenda item? I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 16, please do so at this time.
I'm Ken Belshey. I represent the development company. I just want to make a clarification on his presentation. It's actually 154 single-family lots. I think you said 146.
Oh, okay, I missed the count. I know the MPD allows the 154.
Yes, and the plat does show 154.
Okay.
Correct that for the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no additional comments, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Agenda item number 17 is a resolution accepting the comprehensive annual financial report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2017, as presented by James Moore and Company.
Mayor, City Council, this is the annual audit. I'm pleased to give a preview that we had no comments whatsoever this year, and no comments from an auditor is the best kind of comment you can get from them.
So you just stole my whole presentation, you know, come on. You know?
James, take it from here.
All right, I'm James Halloran with James Moore and Company, and this is to present your annual audit. As always, I invite everyone to meet with me individually. I met with a couple of you guys last week. If anyone else still wants to meet, just give me a call. We'll set up a time and place to do that. This is the audit as of September 30th, 2017, and for that year ended. First costs, I'd like to thank Helena here. You know, you used to see someone a little bit bigger than Helena was. You know, Chris was a little bit larger in stature, but same brain power. You know, what was impressive, you know, Helena came in, Chris left right around year end, but with the policies and procedures and the team that had been built here before, Helena was able to step right up to the finance director position from the comptroller and still keep everything moving. The audit's same time frame it has been in prior years, so that's a great compliment, you know, to your staff. The financial statements, they're a responsibility, of course, management and the City of Palm Coast. Our responsibility is to audit those financial statements. You're audited under U.S. auditing standards, government auditing standards, as well as because you have federal funds, you will also perform a federal single audit and plus there's some auditor general requirements as well. So there's 4 different reports you would see in the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, the CAFR, that have James Moore and Company's logo at the top for our reports. First thing is, what's the opinion on those financial statements? It's considered an unmodified opinion, which sounds kind of generic and not great, but it's actually the best opinion we can give as independent certified public accountants. States that your financial statements present fairly in all material specs, your financial position, results of operations, cash flows for the year ended September 30th, 2017. The next bullet point there describes internal control and compliance. That's the reports required by government auditing standards. So we're required to look at your internal control of financial reporting. With that, we had no material weaknesses that were noted in internal control, as well as no material instances of noncompliance was noted. The next part is our federal single audit reports. This year you had close to almost $23 million of federal awards. The largest portion of that, about $22 million, was your state revolving loan fund that you had, so that was the program that we tested with that. And with that, we had no items that were required to be reported under those standards. There's also the management letter required by the Auditor General, and it goes through a couple different items in that letter. If there are any prior comments, we'd have to respond to that and whether they were corrected. You had no prior comments. Also goes through some financial condition assessment items, which I'll go through on the next slide. But an important thing to note overall for your audit is there were no audit adjustments as a result of this audit. We proposed no audit adjustments, and so no corrections were required. So financial health, I always gets asked by every one of my cities and counties, special districts that I work with, how are we doing? How do we compare to other cities? That's a common question that I get. And of course, as you know, every city is different. Every city has different policies, different philosophies, different stages where they're at in development. One of the indicators that we do have is we're required to do a financial condition assessment. The Auditor General has this requirement. And we go through and we look at your overall financial condition. We look at 25 different indicators, which benchmarks you against comparable sized cities by population and property tax value. And then we also look at a 5-year trend of the city over that time period. So it's a combination of those two that weigh into that. And you guys come up, inconclusive is the terminology the Auditor General uses, but the 3 levels would be favorable, inconclusive, or unfavorable. Inconclusive is really just average, which means you're staying within your policy constraints. There's not huge swings in your balance sheet, in your cash flows, and your revenues. One thing that's affecting every city, as well as you, of course, is waiting for the FEMA money, which I'll get into a little bit later. So just some quick financial highlights. I don't want to get too much into the numbers, but there are some good things to talk about. The general fund had a slight increase of about $900,000 for the year, primarily just due to cost savings. Some departments, didn't spend their entire budget for the year. Capital project fund decreased $3.3 million. You've saved up some capital projects, your community centers, you've been going through that renovation there. And that's where those funds are coming down out of. Transportation impact fee this year had an increase of $2.7 million. If you remember just a couple years ago, that fund actually had a deficit in it, and we were hoping that construction would be picking up and we'd increase the transportation impact fees and eliminate that deficit. It's been able to eliminate that deficit, and hopefully that and all your other impact fees, as construction activity picks up, will be able to be those funds then, the restricted funds for only those purposes, whether it's park impact or transportation impact, can then be used for capital projects, throughout the city. Property taxes, as planned, increased about $789,000. Capital grants, you'd see a big jump in your capital grants if you looked at your financial statements this year, close to $12 million. Big portion of that was some donated roads from Flagler County. So you took on some donated roads, so those get recorded as a revenue, and then you get the luxury of having those roads and now maintaining them and operating them and keeping them up to shape. Operating grants, as I mentioned before, FEMA. We had, a little hurricane there back, Matthew, as well as still, Matthew was wrapping up, and then Irma came along. So both really in the same fiscal year, which is rare. So you had an October storm and then a September storm. But with that, we had you of course have some FEMA money sitting out there. You have close to $4.2 million in those FEMA funds. And that explains the next bullet point. Why did expenses go up? Well, you had $4 million of unexpected costs related to those storms. We'll mention that you still have the Old Kings Road Special Assessment Fund, still has a deficit. There are special assessments that the owners of those properties are paying every year now. So you're getting those principal payments in. If any of those properties do change hands, then you get the full amount of that assessment back at that time. So that will eventually rectify itself over time. Some more highlights: utility fund, unrestricted net assets increased about $5 million in your utility fund. That's your water and sewer. And that's a planned rate increase in customers. Also, you had a rate study performed, and you're also anticipating when your second water plant comes online, which I think is supposed to be sometime this year. Is that correct? It'll be coming on?
Within 30 days.
There you go. So, with that, you're going to have some increased operating costs there as well. You're going to have 2 plants to operate, both personnel-wise and of course, operating expense-wise.
Well, our stormwater fund always runs very low. We've had discussions on how to come up with a long-term solution. When you look at this as its entirety, that's one area that, with these storms, have really helped us understand the significance of continuing to maintain and improve our infrastructure. So, at any given time, do you look at other communities on how they're making those funds or those buckets a little bit more long-term sustainable?
Yeah, your city is very similar to every other one. You have more stormwater some alternative revenue sources. And everyone does. I have some that do a portion of property taxes go there. Some will, use some of the state revenue sharing. Some use utility taxes to augment that. So there's all different ways, but your problem is the same everyone has. You have more good projects that need to get done, but not the funds to do it. So that's why you get paid the big bucks to make those decisions. Advances to other funds. Utility fund has loaned money over to Old Kings Road Special Assessment. As you saw, that was that deficit fund. So in the meantime, rather than going out and borrowing externally, you've borrowed internally. They get a pretty good rate of return at a utility fund, about 5% on their money there, which is pretty good, but you didn't have to go there and borrow externally. Long-term debt, I always kind of try to point out some things that are a little bit different, Palm Coast compared to some other surrounding cities. You have no general obligation debt. The only debt you see in your governmental activities is related to the State Road 100 CRA fund. So you do have that debt. The increase for this year was primarily related to some new state revolving loan funds that we talked about before, about a $14 million increase there. And you did do some refinancing. You took some of your you had 4 small state revolving loan fund loans with the Department of Environmental Protection. You consolidated those with one bank loan, got a better rate on that as well. Hurricane Matthew and Irma, as I say there, about $4.2 million between debris and cleanup cost. Reserve fund, your disaster reserve that you've had for a number of years with your fund balance policy, funded $3.7 million of those costs. And so I got a quiz. Do you guys know how much money you've gotten from FEMA so far? Yeah, $3,750 out of $4 million. So just a little bit, on cash there. And that's what's hurting a lot of my governments, is because even though there's financial indicators, it rates cash heavily. Well, you don't have the cash, but you've laid out $4 million. You got this big receivable from the state and the feds. So, and you're in the same boat. I think you're on your 3rd representative now, dealing with those storms. And every time a new representative comes in, they restart the process or restart their review of the information you've provided. So luckily, you guys have it all saved really well, so you just send the stuff back up to them. But you're in the same boat that the majority of the cities and counties we work with are in as well.
Has anyone been lucky enough to?
There's some that have gotten some funds,
okay,
but no one's gotten everything. Even from Matthew, no one's gotten all their money from Matthew. And on some of those, you do have to remember, on your project, you segregate into separate projects. So some of those projects won't be completed because it could be a reconstruction project, but there are some that have received their debris removal, but the majority have not. So they're not picking on you, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, very disappointing.
Some more highlights I always like to mention is just about your pension plans that you guys have at the City of Palm Coast. You're different in regards. You don't have a defined contribution. You have defined contribution plans for the majority of your employees. You do have a volunteer firefighters plan, which is primarily funded through state insurance premium taxes that everyone pays on their homeowners policies. And that's been a great program for you guys. You're building some of your future firefighters, through that program. They can be a volunteer for a time period and then transfer over. You do have 14 employees who were originally hired back when the city was incorporated. See it right there behind your head in 1999. And you enabled people to stay on the state retirement if they had that with Flagler County. That's where the majority of those people came from. So as those people kind of retire, We hope they all retire from the city, because they've all now been here a pretty long time, almost coming up, 19, 20 years here. So they'll be getting there, and eventually that liability will go away. Once you don't have any employees contributing to the plan, you no longer have that liability, which is close to, $3.4 million for this year, and increased $400,000 from last year. As I mentioned, you do have defined contribution plans for all your other employees, which once you pay in your contribution, just like a 401k in a commercial enterprise, then your financial responsibility is done at that point. Where you're at today, just looking at your general fund, your unassigned fund balance, about $6.8 million. And we always like to give some percentages so you get some perspective. Was about 20% of your 2017 expenses and about 19% of your 2018 budget expenditures and transfers. Your fund balance policy you guys set up has you a benchmark of between 10 and 20%, trying to hit that area each year. That is all I have, but I will take questions or comments or stump the auditor.
Any questions or comments? I just want to congratulate our finance department once again for their diligence, their approach, and certainly their leadership. It's put us in a great financial position, and we're very proud of that. Thank you. So thank you. Any member from the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 17, please do so at this time. Then I'll close public comment. I'll take it back. Do we just have to accept the report?
Yeah, if you just approve the resolution, which accepts, you don't actually approve the report, but you just accept it. Yes.
Motion?
Move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passed unanimously. Okay, we are now going to recess City Council and convene the State Road 100 Corridor CRA Board. That's the announcement.
Yes.
So go ahead. Mr. Landon.
Mayor, City Council, you discussed this during your workshop last week, but this is the remaining parcel, residential parcel there along Bulldog Drive. The owner has agreed to sell the property to the city, and we're proposing to purchase it like we did all the other property around it. Bo's going to show you where it is, and a few other details like purchase price, Bo.
Sure. Good morning once again, Council. If you recall the previous presentation regarding the MPD, this was kind of the notch in Phase 2 of the redevelopment plan. So Ms. Hayden approached the city with the current developments and the commercial nature of the area, desiring to, at this time, sell to the city. This is the last homeowner, sort of in Phase 1. The rest is commercial, so it reduces that conflict. And once again, accomplishes the original redevelopment goals that were set back in 2004, which was basically this is an area without infrastructure, and how do we redevelop it so that there's proper infrastructure and not homeowners out there without central water and sewer, paved road access, and stormwater management. So with that, the purchase price was based on a recent transaction just to the south, which was the Shoemake parcel, and so we used the same square footage prices to come up with an agreed upon negotiated price. Just a note, the contract also includes a lease back for 2 months. This is to allow Ms. Hayden time to relocate, and we've done that in previous circumstances as well. So we feel it's a fair price, a fair agreement, and accomplishes the goals of City Council and the CRA.
Council, any questions or comments? I'll open up to the public. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on agenda item number 18, please do so at this time. Seeing none, I'll close public comment. I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, passes unanimously. We'll now adjourn the State Road 100 CRA Board and reconvene the City Council. Agenda item number 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25 are all consent agenda items. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on any of those items, please do so at this time.
Jack's coming.
On Jack Carroll. On item 20, Can I ask you what? They're not giving us something for nothing. So what are we giving them for their donation of the land? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. No closed public comment?
Actually, we are not giving them anything. I think what they're considering is just the carrying cost. It is what we call a drop lot. In other words, it's not buildable, so the taxes are very minimal. But, and then the maintenance, but it's vacant lot, so they really don't have any maintenance. But they're just trying to get it off of their books. And when they approached us, we have a canal that goes through it, so it's part of our stormwater system, and well, it's actually a ditch, not a canal, sorry, but it provides access to our canal because it borders a canal. So there's a benefit for the city. We don't just take any lot, residential lot, just because somebody wants to give it up, but in our evaluation, because we actually have part of our stormwater system that goes through this property and is adjacent to it, it's in our benefit. And, but we're paying nothing. There might be some closing costs associated, but that's not going to the ITT.
Okay, we will close public comment, and I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, it passes unanimously. Public participation. Any member of the public wish to make public comment on items not on the agenda, please do so at this time. None. I'll close public comments. We will take it. You have to come up to the podium and state your name for the record.
Hi, Blanche Valentine, 15 Long Place. I've come several times about an issue I have with my swell. Somebody did come out, but I don't know what the consensus was, because I just found a door hanger on and it says I have violations, and I can't get anybody to tell me what the violations are.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker. We'll close public comment.
Steve will get with her and see what we can do to help. We'll have the director get up with you right after the meeting.
Okay, discussion by city council matters not on the agenda. Vice Mayor Cuff.
I have nothing for this meeting, Mayor.
Oh, okay.
Nothing but stay safe with the weather out there today.
That's right.
One thing. I just was wondering if we could get on the workshop for next week or whatever, soon. Something to do with, and I know Mr. Nobile said he loves signs, so you'll love this. Something with littering. And I know we said that it wasn't, a good idea a while ago because people don't really look at signs and stuff, but maybe we can get the police to enforce it. I saw some couples out on Sunday, on a beautiful Sunday, and they were walking around picking up trash. And I see that a lot, that people are getting out and doing it themselves. And I know we do it, and I know we're on top of it, but it seems like there's still more and more. So maybe we could get some signs up, some fines if people litter. And I figured there'd have to be a workshop about that, so if we could do a workshop.
I'm fine discussing any topic on a workshop or at a council meeting.
Okay.
I just, I am under the thought process that sign pollution also is a bad thing. So
I know.
I think we have to really manage this conversation to balance. What I try to tell, even the neighborhood watch groups that I speak at, Palm Coast is a very large community landmass-wise. We've got a lot of streets. It's economically impossible for us to have public works that's continually
Right.
doing it. But to take ownership as a community and as a neighborhood in participating in cleanups is a great idea. I'd be interested in continuing to host some of our cleanup initiatives on the Intracoastal Waterway, those kind of things, but maybe we could look at maybe more cleanups from a volunteering perspective. I enjoy
But those
doing
can only
that.
happen once every so often.
I think the question needs to change. I think you're right. We got a problem. We have a pollution, a litter problem. And maybe we can have a discussion on what our ideas are to remedy them. Because one of the things I'd like to see is more, what are those, adopt a road type, you know, and if the city got more involved with that, with the smaller community area, because I'm not even on a main, I'm not even on a main road in the R section, and there's always litter, you know, and, you know, we pick it up, but it'd be nice to have that coordinated with the city minimally, you know what I mean, and understanding and set up.
That's why I wanted to
maybe
do a
programs
workshop,
like
just
that.
so we could throw some ideas out there and see if we can solve it, other than having residents have to go out there and clean. I mean, it's great if they want to clean their street. They were 3 streets away from their street, still cleaning. So just something, but yeah, workshop and whatever ideas everybody has.
So you'd like to put that on the agenda?
Yeah, well,
And we'll be prepared with, there's a number of things city does currently, so we'll
Right, and
start
that's what
off
we'd
with
like to know.
what we currently do, and then see if there's something we can
And what we can
expand.
coordinate with that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, you know, there's a variety of things we already do, so we'll put something together. I don't know if we'll be ready for next week, but the following workshop for sure at the latest.
Well, and I appreciate your comments, because we take pride in our community and how
Yeah.
beautiful it is, and we need to continue that. So hopefully we can find a solution that works for everybody. I just had one item. I really wanted to acknowledge and thank the county for their vote against an RV park on Colbert Lane. I think it was a wise decision on their part, and I'm hopeful that that is a sign of us really coordinating these annexation areas of our community that we discussed some time ago. With these developments popping up everywhere, I think more coordination is a positive thing, and I was very, very pleased with the outcome of their decision. And it was a unanimous one, so
Good.
it's great. So that's all I have. Do you have anything, Mr. Weissman?
Do not. Okay.
Discussion by city manager of matters not on the agenda.
First and foremost, we do have a storm blowing through. Literally, it's supposed to have some heavy winds. We are under a tornado watch currently, and the storm is supposed to be here anytime this afternoon. So, and it should be moving through fairly quickly, but that's one of the problems is the wind. It's really going to be about wind. So, with that, our Food Truck Tuesday that's planned for today has been canceled. So we will not have that event this evening. It's one of those that they have to come here, and so they're not going to travel here with the risk that it couldn't occur. Some of the other things that Cindy has sent my way is we've already talked about a lot of recreational activities. It's springtime. The mayor's 30-30 challenge, where we're challenging people to do a mile of activity a day, so 30 miles in 30 days. That formally starts this Saturday and continues through April, or the rest of March and April. Friday and Saturday is Try Tennis Free at our tennis center. One of many programs that we're been doing out at the tennis center and golf course. Both have been very successful lately. The two big items are the grand opening of the community center. It always felt like that was way down the road, but it's actually a week from Friday now. So, and it once again starts at 5 o'clock, 5 to 7 Friday night. Not this Friday, but the following Friday. Am I correct, or is it this?
Yeah.
This Friday.
23rd. This is the 20th, yeah.
Boy, how time flies. This yeah, a couple days from now, sorry. And then Saturday, starting at 9 a.m., it'll be open house, so people can come and see the brand new community center. I think you'll be impressed. And then April 3rd, we are partnering with the Observer for the hopefully first annual State of the City event. That will be April 3rd. It's a luncheon, so there are, you have to buy tickets for lunch at the community center. As we talked about before, it was one of those that we're trying to be one of our first events there, try it out, and also highlight some of the positive things going on in the city and future. The mayor is obviously going to be the presenter at that, so Hopefully, you all can make Tuesday the 3rd at 11:30 at the community center. Mayor, that's all I have.
Move adjournment.
Thank you.
There's been a serious accident in Greenwich Village on West 10th Street. 12 firefighters have been injured. 5 are reported to be in serious condition and are hospitalized. The fire captain on scene said they were responding to a call that proved to be a false alarm. But looking at the injuries and all the damages, the captain told this reporter there's really no such thing as a false alarm. Your local fire department protects you. Take it seriously.
Hey, guys! I wouldn't start those here. ATVs give off sparks. You could start a wildfire.
Sorry.
See ya. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights, vests,
Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over. When you need us,
We've got your back.
you have ours.
You got our back?
You got ours? You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
Hold on, I'll be right back, bud.
All right. Hey, Johnny's on his way. Brenton! Respond for drowning. Do something, please.
Please, do something.
Mosquitoes will bite day and night, so protect yourself with these tips. Keep mosquitoes outside by shutting doors and covering windows with screens. Use EPA-approved insect repellents anytime you're outdoors. Cover your skin with long sleeves and pants. Mosquitoes lay their eggs in water. Just a bottle cap of water is all they need. So drain, refresh, or cover anything around buildings that can hold water at least weekly, and put away outside items that aren't being used. A message from the Florida Department of Health.
There's been a serious accident in Greenwich Village on West 10th Street. 12 firefighters have been injured. 5 are reported to be in serious condition and are hospitalized. The fire captain on scene said they were responding to a call that proved to be a false alarm. But looking at the injuries and all the damages, the captain told this reporter there's really no such thing as a false alarm. Your local fire department protects you. Take it seriously.
Hey, guys! I wouldn't start those here. ATVs give off sparks. You could start a wildfire.
Sorry.
See ya. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Slow down.
Slow down and move over.
And move over. When you see lights, vests,
Or reflectors.
please give us some room. Slow down and move over. When you need us,
We've got your back.
you have ours.
You got our back?
You got ours? You got our back? Please, slow down.
And move over.
These tips. Keep mosquitoes outside by shutting doors and covering windows with screens. Use EPA-approved insect repellents anytime you're outdoors. Cover your skin with long sleeves and pants. Mosquitoes lay their eggs in water. Just a bottle cap of water is all they need. So drain, refresh, or cover anything around buildings that can hold water at least weekly, and put away outside items that aren't being used. A message from the Florida Department of Health.